Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? Grab your coffee. Maple bourbon, Target brand. It's awesome. Maybe a snick snack, right? And let's get into it. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is the 5 things to do when martial law is declared. Now, the other day I talked about what to do, when to do, hiding your preps and stuff like that in case this is enacted. All right. Now, a year ago, it seemed like a prepper's footnote. But what about now? Martial law is a solution to, it's last resort, all right? It occurs when local law enforcement authorities are so overwhelmed by any occurrence or combination of disaster events, whether natural or man-made, okay? Now, it sounds like something that could only happen in like a third world country, but nay, okay? It has been declared in the United States twice on a national basis, okay? And on numerous occasions on a state and regional basis as well. So what is martial law? In case you're new here and you have, just begun prepping and you don't know what martial law is, okay, well, I'm going to tell you how it is actually defined, all right? Martial law is actually defined as this. The ranking military officer in command of the force on the ground will become head of the civilian government for the duration. Okay, that's how they define it. Now, the assumption is that local government and law enforcement are incapable of handling the crisis. So the military is called on to assume that role. And martial law can be declared by the president or by an act of Congress on a federal or a national level using federal troops, and by the governor on a state level using the National Guard of that state as a military force. Now, there is one law that limits the president's ability to declare martial law, okay? And it's called Posse, P-O-S-S-E, Comitatus, and it's C-O-M-I-T-A-T-U-S. In 1878, Congress passed this act, which forbids the U.S. military's involvement in domestic law enforcement without congressional approval, all right? Now, there's a second one. It's a significant clause in the application of martial law. It's the suspension of habeas corpus, okay? Habeas corpus is H-A-B-E-A-S-C-O-R-P-U-S, okay? Now, habeas corpus is a right requiring a person under arrest to be brought before a judge or into a courtroom if they feel they have been unlawfully detained, okay? Now, under martial law, a U.S. citizen may be detained with no explanation for who, what, where, or why, right? No recourse through a typical court of law. All right. Now, here's a brief history on martial law. Okay, so martial law occurs with some frequency around the world, but its occurrence on a national level is relatively rare in the U.S., although it has been declared on a local state level 70 times between 1847 and 1945. Yeah. And the most extreme imposition of martial law has occurred during Civil War. And at that time, Abraham Lincoln enacted the following. He suspended the writ of habeas corpus without consent of Congress. He shut down newspapers whose writers displayed any dissent to Union policy or who spoke out against him. He raised troops without consent of Congress. He closed down courts by force. He imprisoned citizens, newspaper owners, and elected officials without cause and without trial. So, as a historical precedent, it has led to many of the current fears surrounding the concept of martial law. And historically, martial law has been declared in the U.S. as a result of significant natural or man-made disasters like widespread rioting, terrorism. All right. To date, martial law has never been instituted as a result of a pandemic, but only time will tell. You know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is that societies around the world are quite fragile right now due to the pandemic and everything that has occurred over the past 2 years, the economic stress that we're all under, the constant potential for unexpected events. We're all on like walking on eggshells. We don't know what to expect, what's around the corner. You know what I mean? And okay, for example, remember just a few years ago what happened in Beirut when the silos that were full of grain, right? And the explosions that happened there. Okay, so that was actually caused by storage of a volatile fertilizer known as ammonium nitrate. Yeah. And regardless of the combination of current events in Beirut, you know, they had a declaration of martial law because it was so uncertain. They didn't know right away like what was going on. So, of course, martial law was enacted. Okay, so under martial law now, okay, so like let's go to the Bill of Rights in the United States. Okay, it's essentially revoked or for as long as the Declaration is in place. Okay, and there's basic rights that are no longer in place under martial law. All right, and there's 5 of them. It's the First Amendment, which is your freedom of speech and assembly of press. The Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms. The Third Amendment, which is your freedom of housing soldiers. The Fourth Amendment, which is your protection of unreasonable search and seizure. And the Fifth Amendment, which is the protection of life, liberty, and property. Now, taking into consideration like common sense preparation for martial law, okay? First, you have to understand how martial law might affect you, okay? There are a variety of factors that would affect the degree to which your life and liberty might be affected by martial law, okay? Are you a person of interest for any reason? Okay, did you put something out there on social media that would be, everybody would be like, how is he thinking? Why would he put that? You know what I mean? So the next thing is, are you essential to the functioning of your community? Meaning, okay, are you a healthcare professional? Are you a first responder like fire, police, EMT? Public official? Business owner? Employee that has been deemed essential? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Pharmacy, grocery, gas station, okay? Now, the second thing is audit your supplies and your preparations. Now, this is not about stocking up on toilet paper, okay? So, get that out of your head. We don't need another repeat of 2020. When travel is restricted, okay, you need to shelter in place. And that would require a supply of like everyday items that you need, whether it's your meds, food, obviously, water, obviously, you know, and this all is going to take place while martial law is in place. But fortunately, there's many people that have some like new experience with stocking up due to the effects of like the pandemic. Okay. And we've all become fairly good, if not experts, at stockpiling food and different supplies to varying degrees. Okay. But the extreme events that lead up to martial law could result in some new, if not unexpected, challenges behind food, water, and meds. Okay. So the next thing is power batteries, recharge capability, because, you know, power outages. Okay, it's always a possibility following natural disasters, but in extreme cases of like civil unrest, terrorism, economic collapse, power outages, okay, can occur just as frequently. So think about what you're going to need for your power needs. Okay. You may have and assess your ability to provide the basic power you need to function your home or your apartment or your townhome, your mobile home. Okay. And it may seem extreme, but there are instances in like some countries where even fundamental communications like internet, cell phones, stuff like that have failed between, like not between, wrong word. They failed, or they like were intentionally cut off. You know what I mean? So if you need that communication between like an elderly parent, your child is in college or whatever the case may be, you need to think about communication. How are you going to communicate with them? So assess whether or not you can keep in touch with conventional communication for any reason. All right. Now, assess your situation for location, your neighborhood, your family situation. All right. Bug out options if that is in your plan. All right. And always, always, always stay informed. Okay. The next thing is be gray man. You know what that means. Be gray man. I should not have to explain that, but I will, because we do have a lot of new people. Okay. In other words, keep a low profile. Blend in, man. Okay. Stay home. Don't break the law. Don't cause any issues. Don't draw attention to yourself. You don't ever want to do that, okay? Do not join large gatherings that are outside. You want to be like low-key under a rock, all right? Nobody sees, you know what I mean? Moderate your social media usage. Stay the hell off, okay? Don't brag about your preparedness. I've always told you guys, shut up about your preps. No one needs to know shite, right on? If you own weapons, your profile should be kept even lower, okay? So just take a deep breath, okay? I mean, it's tempting to assume that the worst when martial law comes up, it's, what do we always do? We prepare for the worst, and you know what I mean? And stuff like that. It's not a surprise. It's really not. Martial law means that there's a very bad, desperate situation that has grown to proportions that only the military can handle. All right? But it does not automatically equate to the end of the world as we know it. So get that idea out your head. Okay? Martial law is supposed to be implemented to correct and stabilize serious situations. And the result is that serious measures are imposed in an effort to resort to restore some resemblance of order, normal, everyday society. And most people can get through it without too much pain and grief, And with any luck, the event or events pass, they subside, and martial law will be lifted and a new normal will take place. All right. But the only real challenge is how you prepare and you manage yourself during the situation, especially if we've got little ones at home. Okay? Because I think that's going to be one of the biggest challenges for us parents, as grandparents and aunts and uncles. If we've got little guys in our house and they don't know how to sit still, you know what I mean? And we can't keep them occupied with crafts, educational things, we're going to be in for a world of hurt, because they're not going to be able to go outside and play. You know what I mean? So we have to have proper preparation, appropriate actions, and a good dose of common sense. And you should be able to ride it out and look back on this experience without repeating the same experience. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I got for you guys. I love you. I'll see you in the next one. You stay safe. You stay positive. You keep prepping. And as always, fear less. Ciao.